Hey everybody, so it's time for our weekly kind of get together where we read some stuff from some anti-war zines. This time we've got one called GI Press. I found a great repository for all this stuff, so there's going to be lots of stuff that we're going to do. So this is going to be two. One of them, and before we get on going, let's get our. I gotta say, I found a couple. This one is from a Marine Corps one. So in Iwasaka, Japan, there used to be a Marine Corps base. This zine ran until 1984. So this one like started up after Vietnam, and then all of a sudden, just kind of kept going. And they have a the coffee house thing called the Hobbit Hole. And there's some. So this is a Marine one that's called Semper Fi. Come on, guys. I like the up against the bulkhead and the GI Press, but really just naming it after the thing all of you yell constantly, but whatever, it's fine. So this is about Pat Chenoweth. Pat Chenoweth was a Navy firefighter. So Pat Chenoweth is facing 30 years in military prison for destruction of government property. Let me go ahead and put it up. Framed. He's accused of dropping a paint scraper and two large bolts into the main reduction gear of the USS Ranger last summer, causing some $800,000 of damage and delaying its departure to Vietnam for 4 months. I'm sorry, if you have a boat, if you have the USS Ranger, if you have a warship that can't go to Vietnam because somebody dropped a paint scraper into it, that's really on you, man. Alarmed at the increasing acts of resistance, the Navy has singled Pat out as a scapegoat, hoping to thereby repress dissent. The truth is that there is just not enough evidence to warrant courts-martial. Throughout the Armed Forces Act, resistance and sabotage should become so commonplace as to really freak out the brass. GI's discontent and frustration with the Navy's repression and racism has sparked incidents all over the world. The Ranger alone has had some 30 acts of sabotage from May to September 1972. This was released in 1973, beginning of 93 or 73. Many of which occurred when Pat was not assigned to the ship. Jeffrey Allison was convicted of setting fire to the USS Forstall last July. Fucking love it. I love you, Navy people. Jack Vaughn is now charged with arson and sabotage of the USS Coral Sea, while Corporal Mike Tippett, a bunch of fucking the enlisted folks, man, I love them, accused of totally destroying two F-4 Phantoms by placing foreign objects into their engines. This list of such incidents is endless. The Navy obviously hopes that its witch hunt for saboteurs will solve its problems, and it isn't going to be too squeamish about the methods it's going to use to get convictions. So the sabotage under under wartime, basically. That's the Pat Chenoweth was the first one to get charged with this during Vietnam. Been a while since anybody had really been charged with it. Going back to World War I. back when if you weren't doing what the captain said, they just fucking shoot you. All right. In an unprecedented move, the military courts ruled that the war in Indochina is legal, regardless of the lack of a congressional declaration, thus making it possible to charge Pat with sabotage in time of war. If this ruling is upheld, the government need not prove that Chenoweth intended to interfere with national defense in order to convict him of the charge. So, before, you can, we're technically at war. You could probably be brought up on this shit now, but, it's, you have to prove that they were trying to sabotage it. But now, under wartime, they just assume that you were trying to do it. To top things off, Pat's trial is being moved from Treasure Island, San Francisco, to Subic Bay in the Philippines. Now, that might just strike you as being a little out of line with our right to be tried in the community of which a crime was supposedly to have been committed. Pat's attorney, Eric Seitz of the National Lawyers Guild, remarked that there's no subtlety any longer. They're clearly out to convict Pat at any cost, only they'd prefer to do it thousands of miles away where neither the public nor press can see or do anything about it. Perhaps more importantly, Pat's attorney will not be able to defend him if the trial moves to the Philippines. It was just 4 months ago that the dictator Marcos arrested a member of the National Lawyers Guild that was working with the GI movement in the Philippines. He was threatened with military trial under Philippine martial law and eventually deported. Eric won't be permitted to defend Pat at Subic Bay, and the Navy knows it. That's why the case is being tried there. The Philippines not friendly to much, really. They have moved the trial to the one place they know he cannot safely go, Seed says, and moving of the trial sets precedent that the government to move any military or civilian trial wherever they wished. Picture the next political trial, a la Angela Davis or the Barron brothers, being held on a Boeing 747 orbiting Guam or something. Think about it, brothers and sisters. It's not funny. If we allow Pat to be framed, we're in danger. Who is to say the next victims won't be? In order to ensure our own freedom, we must see that Pat Chenoweth is free. Free Pat, free all GIs. And then you've got the information. You can learn more about Pat. I don't know who's at any of these addresses anymore. But okay, so I promised you two. So here's the thing. New York Times in 1973 wrote about the acquittal of good Pat here, Pat Chenoweth. San Francisco, June 12th. Court-martial board of 3 enlisted men and 2 officers acquitted the Navy fireman Patrick D. Chenoweth today in charges of sabotage in time of war on the aircraft carrier USS Ranger. Fireman Chenoweth, 21 years old, of Puyallup, 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 Washington, was accused of throwing a paint scraper and 2 metal bolts into the main reduction gears of the carrier while she was tied up in the Alameda Naval Air Station last July, causing $986,000 of damage and delaying her departure to Vietnam for 3.5 months. That's some good, again, man, that's on you. That's your shitty, I mean, we can't talk shit now because we literally have boats that don't boat. They don't boat very well at all. This is the first trial of wartime sabotage since World War II, and Fireman Chenoweth faced a possible sentence of 30 years in prison if convicted. The court-martial board, sitting at Treasure Island Naval Station, deliberated 3.5 hours before returning the verdict following a 6-day trial. Commander Richard C.V. Mentag, president of the board, stated to Fireman Chenoweth, "The court is closed in session. By secret ballot has found you not guilty of the specifications." Not guilty of specifically this, but you motherfucker, we know you did it. Judge Commander Malin Freed gavelled the courtroom to order, briefly admonished the board not to speak about the case, and adjourned the proceedings. Frame-up attempt is seen. Fireman Chenoweth then stepped in the hallway outside of the courtroom and read a statement that he had prepared for him by my defense committee. "Today I feel we have won a great victory against the most dehumanizing machine in the world. At a time of history when the United States military is the major genocidal force around the globe, it's particularly gratifying not only to be free, but to have beaten the Navy in its attempts to cane me." Fireman Chenoweth appeared calm, but he, in a response to the question, "I think I have a right to be a little mad." He referred to his incarceration in the Treasure Island brig since August 2nd. Eric Seitz, the attorney, expressed pleasure with the verdict, was dismayed about the fact that all of his attempts to have the suspect released on bail had been unsuccessful. "I'm angry and resentful about Pat being confined for 10.5 months without having committed a crime." So a nice little story for us. It's got a nice little happy ending. You don't always get to see that, especially when it comes to people who are saying no to war. Usually people who say no to war go to jail or end up in a ditch with a couple of holes in them somewhere. So, these were all, and this is 1973. This is getting closer to the end of the war, but Vietnam had really been ramped up for a number of years by this time, and it was not popular. Nobody liked it. Nobody had any idea what we were fucking doing, much like Afghanistan. But it then, just kind of rolls into is like, well, we had an idea in the beginning, but unfortunately that idea that we had and what we're doing now are just two different things. But we can't stop doing it because we'll fuck up the country, but we already have. So I don't know. Vietnam, man. The one thing that I don't blame Trump for is dodging the Vietnam draft, because it sounded fucking terrible, man. It sounded terrible. But a lot of love to these guys that did what they could. They resisted in the way that they could. And when you're in the military, you're not you're not on friendly ground, you know, like if you're politically left. Like even a Democrat really has to kind of keep it to themselves. If you're super liberal, you really don't, you know, you don't talk about it very much. And some people who do, you know, they get into arguments a lot. But if you're a leftist, man, you ain't talking about that shit. You're not talking about it around anybody. So, you know, you find other ways to find yourself politically, I guess. It took me a long time, but I know there's plenty of people out there, and you know, and who are in the military and do manage to square that with military service. And hey, you know, it's everybody. You know, our thing is always that you know, don't join the military, but also we love our military folks because we've all been there, man. And there's a place where you don't have to go into the whole Black Rifle angry veteran thing. You can just be a normal person instead. You don't even have to be politically left, man. Just go be a normal human being. Just when you get out of the Army, instead of, you know, just treating it like the Army was the greatest thing that happened to you, just go be not in the Army anymore and go get a regular job and have a family and, you know, get together with your buddies every once in a while and tell Army stories. But for the most part, you really should be kind of moving on. So I say this as somebody who's been running a podcast where I yammer on about the military nonstop for the last 4 years. But you know what? It's different for me because I'm not, you know, violently racist about it. I'm just want everybody to have health care and the destruction of the capitalist oligarchy. And isn't that what everybody wants? So as always, thank you all for tuning in. We'll have more next week. I was going to talk news this time around, but I decided that's really going to be on the podcast episode. I'm recording this on Tuesday night, and we record Wednesday morning. So Nate and I are going to be putting out definitely an hour of our feelings on all of this. So listen to that. If you came across this by happenstance, it is Hell of a Way to Die, hellofawaytodie.com, and you can listen to everything, read our writings. We have a store, we have all kinds of stuff. So really appreciate everybody who's, you know, jumping in on this. I'm really kind of getting a feel for it. I'm really kind of enjoying it. At some point in time, I'm going to have my office not look like absolute hell. And at that point, we're going to be great. Hopefully, fingers crossed. So anyway, everybody, we will talk to you next week. Thanks.